There's nothing like the real thing. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. This is it. Part number 5 of this 5-part series. I really hope it's been a blessing to you. We're wrapping it up here looking at God versus gods. And in the story of Exodus, before the plagues even fall, there's this little encounter that happens. And this little encounter lets us know that when all this big stuff starts popping off, like these plagues all over the nation, who's really in charge, who's really in control, who's a real God. But before we talk about that, thank you again for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to study the word. If this has blessed you, please leave a like button. We love to have you subscribe to the channel, and by all means, share this video with someone else. And we love to share where you are. We're on the road right now in Oklahoma, but we'd love to be where you are. And it doesn't matter how near or far that might be. And if cost is an issue, please don't let that be an obstacle to inviting us. If it's needed, we'll take care of the travel. We just need you to open the door. And if that's something you'd like to do, just send us an email to contact@changeministry.org so that God can bless your church or your school right now. Nothing like the real thing, right? Well, what's the proof of that? Because there are plenty of counterfeits. In fact, there are always going to be more counterfeits than there are the authentic. That's even happening here in Exodus 7. In Exodus chapter 7, verse 9, when Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, show a miracle for you, then shalt thou say unto Aaron, take thy rod, cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. So what happens in verse 10? Moses and Aaron went in unto Pharaoh, and they did so as the Lord had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. What God is doing in this encounter is real. He, as the creator, is able to create out of absolutely nothing. So it's not a stretch for him to create a snake out of a staff or a stick. That's exactly what he does. But now here come the counterfeits versus the creator. Because in Exodus verse 11 of chapter 7, Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, now the magicians of Egypt, and they also did in like manner with their enchantments. Their enchantments. Please notice the plural enchantments. Remember, there's no limit to the number of fakes, whereas there's only and always one real. By definition, that's what makes it real. The real serpent now is faced with multiple fake serpents. There's nothing like the real thing. And one of the reasons why there's nothing like the real thing is because the real thing will last. In fact, it will outlast the fake, because in verse number 12, they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents, plural, more than one. So now you got an uneven fight. But don't worry, God's got it, because Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods, plural. The rod of Aaron, and I love how the verse says, it calls it Aaron's rod. It doesn't even call it a snake, to show us that for every distraction, God in his realness, God in his authenticity is able to overcome and to swallow up the fake. I know what it's like to put your faith in someone or to put your faith in something and it doesn't last. It collapses or it falls apart. It just fails. And it's these ropes of sand that frustrates us. And then the same enemy that made the illusion will now use the frustration of the disappointment of that illusion to then suck us into the final blow. And that's to get us to give up. That's to get us to clock out, to give us to check out of this life because of the very deceptions that he's created. I know, as a sinner saved by grace, that there is no satisfaction in what he has made, because what he has made is an illusion, but what God has made is real. Real love, real joy, real peace, and that can swallow up. That's what swallows up and consumes all these works of darkness when we choose to trust. Aaron had to trust. Moses had to trust. And I pray today that when we see what God is able to do and his capacity to create, that it will lead us to give him allegiance as our Lord and our Maker.